Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our speaker today, who is going to talk to us about living with the pandemic from a Buddhist perspective. This is a subject which we are all deeply interested in because of the difficulties we are facing each day due to the COVID-19 virus and the restrictions imposed on society in order to keep one another safe. Our speaker currently lives in Japan, but his education and career enabled him to live in Japan and the United States. He is a Jodo Shinshu scholar, an author, an ordained Jodo Shinshu priest, a professor emeritus, a family man, and recently became a grandfather. Would you please join me in welcoming Reverend Dr. Kenneth Tanaka?
Okay, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, Sensei, thank you.
Okay, great. Sensei Robert Gubenko, right? So
That's correct, Sensei, yes.
yeah, good to see you again. I saw you a year and a half ago, maybe.
That's right.
In Kyoto during your Kyoshi ceremony.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay, so it's early in the morning in Tokyo, and but it's so wonderful to be able to, communicate like this through the modern technology. As I will be speaking a little bit later, this is one of the quote-unquote benefits of pandemic, and Susan, good to see you. Thanks for all your effort in promoting Buddhism. And the last time I was in Calgary was probably, over 10 years ago for a IASBS conference. IASBS is International Association of Shin Buddhist Studies. It's an academic institution affiliated with the Shin Buddhism. We have about 350 members throughout the world, mostly in North America, Hawaii, and Japan, and some in Europe. And I remember visiting the temple, the area. Also, we went to Banff, and I do think about Dr. Kawamura. Some of you knew him, who was so instrumental in the academic efforts of Shin Buddhism. So whenever I give talks, I think of all the predecessors who preceded me and who gave me confidence, guidance when I was younger, and such as Dr. Tai Unno and Dr. Bloom and Dr. Kawamura, and these were the giants in Shin Buddhism, but they have all returned to the Pure Land, but they may still be with us. And in fact, I know they're still with us. Okay, so I will speak for half an hour and then break for a question and answer, and then do the second half for half an hour, and then conclude with 15 minutes of questions. So please have some questions ready for me. The second half will deal with mostly with my book. The first half will be on the pandemic, based on partly on the book and my general understanding of Buddhism. So let me share the PowerPoint, and I think it's, oh, this is a little bit later. Oh, sorry, this is the other one. It's the other PowerPoint. Here we go. And just a minute. I'm having problem. Oh, okay, good. You cannot, you can't, just a minute. Oops. Oh boy, just a minute, please. I'm trying to get my, where did, oh boy. Oh, here we go. Okay. New share. Okay, that should be working now. Can you see this? Hello? Oh.
Hello.
Can you see me? See? Can you see?
I can only see very small pieces.
Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Okay.
We'll
Okay,
start
now,
over.
okay, I'll start over. I hope this is okay. How about this? Can you see? No?
I can only see part. Anyone else?
Sensei, what we see is it says sharing Buddhism through humor, that
Okay.
first line, and that's all we can see.
Okay, so I'm gonna.
All right. Need to go into your presentation mode in
Okay.
PowerPoint.
How about now? No. Okay, I'm gonna. Oh boy, this is first time it's happened since I had. Okay. So everyone practice patience in 6 paramitas. You can. Okay, I'll get it. Okay. So share screen. Is it working now? No?
Yes, Sensei, it's working now.
Oh, okay. So, and then I'm gonna slide. Okay. All right.
That
That's perfect.
Okay,
nice.
good.
Yeah.
All right, hooray. Okay. Well, unexpected, just like our pandemic. And so living with pandemic from a Buddhist perspective, clues from my new book, Youth Scouts, actually Jewels, an introduction to American Buddhism for youth, scouts, and the young at heart. And I know all of you are young at heart. So, but I'm going to discuss this in the second half. Okay, so first of all, I want to express our sincere thoughts to all the people in the world who have been hurt and devastated by the pandemic. Needless to say, so many people's lives have been turned upside down, and unfortunately, many people have passed away on account of this. And so I hope that things are getting are okay in Canada. Although I understand that things are spiking also in Canada. You've done better than the U.S., but the U.S. is, as you know, has really have seen spikes. Here in Japan, we're pretty well off. Actually, we only have about well, I would say 600 infections a day, and most people are living their lives pretty normally. Everyone wears a mask, and although we are, my wife and I, were very careful about our activities, our lives have been changed drastically. But thanks to the technology, we have been able to communicate with people and stay in touch. Anyway, I don't know how I would be able to. Let's just say it would be much difficult without the modern technology to exercise our interdependence with people that I know and with the activities that I have. Anyway, I think as Buddhists, what is important is for us to take this opportunity to also work on cultivating ourselves as Buddhists. Buddhism helps us to see things in a proper way, see things as they truly are, as we often say. But in order to do that, we have to cultivate and work on ourselves. And in basic Buddhism, we have what is called the 3 cultivations. And well, I have the Japanese or Chinese characters here, but it means cultivation, 3 learnings. And this is very basic. And Eightfold Noble Truth that we all know about can be shortened or abbreviated into the 3 cultivations, which are conduct, settled mind, and wisdom. And conduct includes, I don't know, I was going to ask you whether you recited the golden chain. And I believe you, when I was there last time, I heard that you did not. Golden chain is, it says, I will think pure and beautiful thoughts. Thoughts would be the wisdom, and also the settled mind. And I will say pure and beautiful words, which will be part of conduct, and do pure and beautiful deeds, which will be part of conduct. So whether it's the Eightfold Noble Path or the Golden Chain, basically comes down to working on how you act, how you settle your mind, and how you see things. And I think in other religions, would emphasize 1 and 3, but Buddhism tends to also place great emphasis on the settled mind. Okay, so we'll start with the wisdom of the 3. We start with wisdom, and there are different ways of talking about wisdom, but in my book, I also talk about the think big and think small, which I have been doing since for a number of years. I sometimes hesitate to talk about think big and don't think small, but it's such an easy way and introductory way of talking about what Buddhism is. And Buddhism itself, when asked what is unique about Buddhism, and they cited the 4 marks. So in everyday language, I say life is a bumpy road, and life, let me just go through. Life is bumpy road, interdependence, impermanent, and life can be great. So if you take this first one, life is bumpy road, technically it's just all experiences have suffering. But, I like to put it in more everyday language that people can understand. But it's opposite to this side is the what I call instinctual. Instinctually we think this way. When something goes wrong here, you hit a bump and you say, oh, it shouldn't be this way. Life should go smooth. And then interdependence is often translated non-self, but non-self is quite difficult to get hold of, so or handle on. So another way of saying this is life is interdependent. But we tend to instinctually think, life should be mine, or things should go my way. Life is impermanent. And instinctually, we tend to think life should always be the same. And this is the aim of Buddhism, is to come to the level where we can really say to ourselves that, despite all the ups and downs of life, life is fundamentally great. But another way of saying is life can be great. And you can only speak for yourself. That's what's important about Buddhism. I would not say to a family who have lost someone with COVID-19 to say life can be great. It's great for me as I live it now, but I cannot speak for everyone. But even people who have undergone real difficulties, hopefully, at the end of the day, they can come to the realization that life can be great. Life is fundamentally great, and not that life is lousy. Okay, so taking each of the three marks, life is a bumpy road, and this, with regard to the COVID, it means that life is definitely a bumpy road, but we instinctually think that life should go smooth. And it's been hard for many of us to accept this pandemic, because we feel like it shouldn't be this way. Why did Buddha, God, make this thing happen? But from a Buddhist perspective, life is a bumpy road. It doesn't go your way, including the pandemic. And so seeing things as they really are, in a way, this kind of thing has been happening for eons. And it's just that, as I think back, most of us, since World War, who were born after the Second World War, we really haven't known real difficulties. Of course, we had Vietnam War and few skirmishes here and there, but most of us have led lives that are relatively peaceful. And then this hit us, and it's impacted everyone, and it's nothing like we ever experienced. It is really unprecedented in our lives. And so we have to see things as they are. And I myself too, when this first came down on us, I feel like, why is this happening to me? It's not fair, and kind of resisted, and to some extent. And but I said, I have to practice what I preach, which is to see things as they are, which requires us that for us to have a right understanding about this particular pandemic, and we have to listen to the experts, not like some people we all know, and I won't mention his name, and many people who feel that this is even a hoax, it's trumped up, and etc. But if you look at East Asia, it's doing so well. It's always held up as a model, right? South Korea, Taiwan, Vietnam, and Japan. And the reason is that, for example, South Korea, I understand that they put a scientist at the head, in charge. Actually, a lady who studied, I believe, in America, and they put her in charge of dealing with this pandemic, and everyone, including the government, let her handle. And that is why that South Korea has done so well, because they were able to see things as they really are and not as how we want it. And so second order wisdom is interdependent, and which means that we're all connected, as we all know, especially as Buddhists. And what that means is that as we deal with the pandemic, we have to think of other people and especially the vulnerable, the people who are susceptible to become more ill, including us, who are. I continue to think of myself as being relatively young, but actually today's my birthday, and I just turned 73, which is hard to believe, but I definitely fall into the vulnerable. And but that's why young people need to think of us and others who have underlying conditions. So this really, the pandemic has really taught us that we do live in an interdependent world, for good and bad. Actually, the bad has reached everyone and impacted everyone. And but as we try to get out of this, and the vaccination is coming, and it will come hopefully by next year. But we also need to remember that everyone on the globe needs to be vaccinated, because no one will be safe unless everyone is safe. Because if you leave one developed nation without vaccine, they can continue to have a negative impact. So I think this, the teaching of interdependence is a good reminder of how we deal with this as well. This is second of the wisdom. Third one is impermanent. And this is something that we're all very conscious of, that all things change. Everything is changing. Some stay the same for a long time, but throughout our lives, our thoughts change, our styles, fashion changes, our relationship changes, and physical conditions change. And this is a change in the physical condition. And they don't change as we want it. Everything changes, even what we consider to be normal. So, how I think all of us are realizing that what we took to be normal is not really normal. That it just, the causes and conditions have made it seem normal, but that can change in a minute. And when they change, it's important that they don't change always as we like. Okay, so the other thing is, some people are getting quite frustrated. They feel pent up, but I think the teaching of impermanence teaches us something else. Not only that all things change, but another dimension of that change is that that things will change. This pandemic will change, so we can be hopeful, right? And we don't that things will change, and things are not good now, but things will get better. So we can be hopeful that it won't stay the same forever. It will get better, and then you'll change again. But at least this pandemic will change, and by that I mean that we'll find a cure and be able to deal with it. Life can be great. Life is fundamentally great. I usually use these two phrases: life can be great, which I'm using now, but another way is life is fundamentally great. Now, one example is that there are silver linings to be found in this pandemic. So in a way, as we often say, we should try to find the good in the bad, find the good in the bad, and silver linings that we can find. Example, as I mentioned earlier, that this online communication has enabled us to do things that were not really capable even 9 months ago. I personally learned about Zoom maybe 9 months ago and began to use it, 7, 8 months ago. And it has really made my life much more effective in what I do. And this is an example to be able to speak to you, 7,000 miles away, maybe 6,000, and some of you, I'm sure, your lives have really been upended and lifestyles changed. And for me, actually, this hiatus has given me a chance to write, really focus on what I put down in writing, what I have been thinking about. And this book was enabled. I was able to finish this because of the early months of this pandemic, and been able to rest physically and have these Zoom classes and do my translations. So I also made a concerted effort to, hey, maybe this is a time for me to explore something that I haven't been able to do, which is to kind of slow down and spend more time looking at myself more internally. So I am much more thoughtful and introspective of my thoughts, how I react to things. I've been talking more recently about psychological insights into Buddhism and how we can observe the mind to be able to think pure and beautiful thoughts, to say pure and beautiful words, and to do pure and beautiful deeds, which are called for as Buddhists. Now, okay, so that's the wisdom part, and I know I'm running a little bit behind, but this is the important part. So yeah, I think we have enough time. So now, the first of the three cultivations was wisdom. Second one is a settled mind. Often, meditation. So I think in this pandemic, we should cultivate, quiet within, and time to have our minds still, and so that you can see things properly and conduct yourself more wholesomely. And so I think, taking walks and exercising, listening to music, etc., that can settle, have our minds settle. And this, needless to say, we should be doing this anyway. And then in Buddhist, especially in Buddhism, we focus on cultivate through meditation. In Jodo Shinshu, as we know, we don't do meditation rigorously, but actually it is not wrong, or it is we are allowed to do contemplation and meditation if you like. Just don't feel that this is the cause for you to become enlightened. It's one way of just cultivating ourselves, and we should be more open to meditation and Nembutsu contemplation. So most of you probably know about mindfulness meditation. It's really doing very well throughout the world, actually. So many people are practicing. They say that at least 20 million people in the USA and including Canada will be more than that, who practice some form of meditation per day. And so Nembutsu contemplation that I have here is something that is not really new to Jodo Shinshu or Pure Land Buddhism. It's contemplating about the other power that is always embracing us. So, and other power in our tradition is Amida Buddha, but we often don't know what Amida Buddha is readily. So one way of appreciating the workings of Amida is to contemplate on the tangible things that make our lives meaningful or make our lives possible. including the physical things like air and the sunlight and the food that we partake, as well as the mental support of our loved ones, the family, the friends, the teachers, and all the societal things, institutions like schools that educated us, hospitals that are there if we need it. And so I don't have time today to go into detail here, but what if you can take the time to basically sit in, sit in your chair and practice basic mindfulness meditation. But as Jodo Shinshu Buddhists, we like to go beyond that and be open to the workings of what we call the power through others that I mentioned. And that is a way for us to feel connected to the workings that are around us. Okay, so on to maintain our settled mind, it's probably better not to watch too much news. I'm a news junkie too, but I have to not even CNN. It has a lot of reports about this and that, but I realize sometimes that they often talk only about the bad news. They talk about all the people who caught it, but they don't talk about who, so much about how many people left the hospital. So we should keep that in mind. The last one of the three is conduct, which basically means to act in accord with wisdom and settled mind that I talked about, especially wisdom. So this is the golden chain. This is one section of it. And maybe if you like, you can read it together with me. I will try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, to say pure and beautiful words, and to do pure and beautiful deeds, knowing that on what I do now depends not only my happiness or unhappiness, but that of others. So again, interdependence, what I do impacts others. So, think about the vulnerables, people, and then this one is I don't know, this applies also to all the Jodo Shinshu Buddhists, not only to the US, but this is called our pledge. You know about this, don't you? The new pledge that the Gomonshu in Kyoto came up with. And this is a second verse. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Not becoming lost in my greed, anger, and ignorance, I shall think and act with an open mind, just like the calm and the peaceful Buddha. So, here is not to become too centered, thinking only about your needs, but thinking of others, and have an open mind, which is to be open to the opinions of the scientists and experts. Okay, so, and to kind of put all this together, I often talk about the horizontal dimension and the vertical dimension. And the horizontal is what happens to us. Vertical is how we respond to what happens to us. And for us, this would be the Buddhist teachings. So many people everyone participates on a horizontal level. It's the objective reality, objective realm. And this happens to be up and down, bumpy road. Things go well, things don't go well, etc. But with Buddhism, you have the vertical, the teachings that we just talked about, the 4 marks of existence, the 4 noble truths, etc. And 3 cultivations that just went over. And by cultivating that, if you have a strong vertical dimension, you'll be able to deal with the ups and downs on the horizontal. So we cannot control what happens mostly on the horizontal level. Yes, we can control our relationships and on our health to some extent, but basically horizontal level is that which happens to us due to causes and conditions that are beyond our control. But what we can control is how we respond to it, and this is often said, but we have to, in responding, we have to cultivate ourselves to respond well in a way that will enhance happiness and minimize difficult suffering. Okay, so please keep this in mind, that the Buddhist path is the one that, one in which we aim to become Buddhists. This is our goal, is to become Buddha. But we can, in our regular life, just go towards it and be patient and dedicated, and you will definitely realize some results. I'm convinced that if anyone can pursue this path sincerely, consistently, you will make a difference in your life. And that when you look back to 20, 30 years ago, when you compare it to your life then and compare yourself now, things are much, much better. And you feel a sense of wellness. Okay, so I think let me stop here and entertain some. With regard to the pandemic, this is basically, in a nutshell, what I want to say. And so maybe I'll give it back to you, and I'm gonna stop share and. All right, so any comments, questions? Just any thoughts? By the way, you don't have, do you do the golden chain?
Yes, we do, Sensei. Yes, we do.
Oh, good. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Our service book is the one that the BCA put out just a couple of years ago. So we have that in our service book as well.
Oh, okay. All right. So, that was created by a lady named Reverend Dorothy Hunt 100 years ago. It's not in Japan. Probably created in Hawaii. And it's probably the most well-read or well-recited passage in Jodo Shinshu overseas, especially in North America. So anyway, any thoughts, questions?
I really liked the fact that you brought in the vertical and the horizontal as an illustration, and also bringing it to our awareness that life is a bumpy road, and objectively we experience it quite often. But unless we have a good grounding in our Buddhist teaching and practice it with patience, we won't realize the benefits of it. So I really appreciate you emphasizing that for us, especially in this time of the pandemic, when things seems to be really bumpy and out of our control.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that we can work with the teachings, be patient, that we will see benefit out of it. And like you said, that life is fundamentally good, which I think we forget about sometimes. And knowing that as things are changing all the time, that we can look forward to the pandemic also changing and be hopeful for a vaccine that will help all of us. So I'd really like to thank you for bringing that to our attention. It helped me quite a bit. Thank you.
Yeah. So the change is, you change for the worse sometimes, but things will change. and this will change for the better, this pandemic. So we have to be hopeful for that. And it won't be too long next year. And actually, the other thing is things can be worse. You know, when this actually got worse, like in March and April, we stopped going out as usual. Our lives got upended. But I realized, gee, life, we have food to eat, and we have a house to live in, and although there are many people suffering, but fortunately things are good. And so for us, so I also, thought that what I can do is to, give talks like this and to be of some benefit on a spiritual level, do things that what I can do. So all of you should think about what you can do to also help others in this time of need. But most of all, help yourself. And that is to remember the vertical and the horizontal. And in Buddhism, we don't have a God to blame, who cannot say, well, why did the Buddha do this? Buddha doesn't deal with the horizontal level. But we can, well, yeah, I know what I wanted to say is that when things get out of hand and we feel it's out of control, we feel that way because we think we can control the horizontal, and Buddhism has always maintained that you cannot control, but we can control the vertical and how we deal with the horizontal. And that goes to the heart of Buddhism. So please note that. Okay, anything else, please?
Dr. Ken, it's Dan McCormick here. I was just wondering, I have somebody that I work with who is, I don't know what you want to call them, probably as far as this pandemic is exactly the opposite of me. He thinks it's all a big hoax and, we should all just go get it. And the shutting in of the economy is ruining the economy. And I find it a combination of frustrating and pity, I guess, with him. And I was wondering if you had any thoughts about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is a sizable number of people who think that way. And this is contrary to what I mentioned earlier about seeing things more objectively, and see things as they are. And some people are not able to do that or don't want to do that. I think probably I think about why people are not able to see things as they are or see the reality. And but they have certain people want to have a booming economy. I mean, President Trump is exactly that. He that's his number one goal. I mean, he has other reasons why he wants to have the booming economy, but we just have to do both. And so as to why they think that way, I think I just mentioned earlier. But again, we can only do what we think is right to the best of our ability. So I think, Dan, if you hear opinions like that, it gets, it is bothering. I mean, but we can only do what we can and be very committed to what we can do and to improve not only your situation, but the other situation. I don't know if I responded to that, but people have
No,
different
I think
values.
that's good. That's good.
Yeah,
I
people
know
have
it's,
different
you can only
values.
do what
And,
you can do, right?
yeah, but yes, and we can do what we can, and um, yeah, right.
Okay, I've got a question for you, Sensei, from one of the participants. Do you think that more people are looking to religion for comfort or for understanding during this time of COVID?
I believe, well, yeah, I think there are people who turn to religion for comfort and understanding. And now that you mention it, I too, I can, as I think about my situation, when this hit us in, very strongly in March, I guess I unconsciously turned to how I should, and how I can think about this Buddhistically. So actually what I presented today is something that I wrote right away in March. I have that Buddhist column that I send out, and I wanted to send this out, as partly for that. But I didn't actually send it out right away for, maybe 2-3 months, because I wanted to be sure. And at the same time, I thought this is kind of, obvious. But more I thought about it, I realized, hey, maybe, because I was thinking that way, and I thought, oh, maybe after all, people can benefit from this. So sure, I think a lot of people in the world who are religious are turning to religion, and I think it's a good thing. I think in a way, religion is there for us in times of crisis. And if it doesn't help you in your time of crisis, then it doesn't perhaps have a value. And so I think maybe this is an opportunity for us to look within and think about our religious commitment. If you are religious, if you are a Buddhist or Christian, whatever, to think of how your religion can support us. And so in times of personal crisis, in times of social crisis, and worldwide crisis, religion should be there to help us see things in an effective way, and how to deal with our emotions. And everything is not so clear cut, but I think that if you have the vertical dimension and work on that, it will be much better than not to have it. Because a lot of people in the world only have the horizontal, and they get swayed, buffeted, pushed around because they don't have an anchoring. And so and in terms of Buddhism, we have the Dharma to anchor us, to deal with the bumpy road that is the horizontal dimension. Okay. Yes. Oh, Reverend Ehrlich, I didn't realize. Good to see you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. I've been reflecting in a strange way on what we can learn from the virus.
Yes.
And it seems counterintuitive, but in some way, the virus is trying to teach us something. And I think we can listen, like what somebody has mentioned, that the virus doesn't care what your race is, doesn't care what it accepts you.
Well, which party you are.
Yeah. So I think Buddhism can give us a courage and a quietness of mind that we can sort of learn something from the virus.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. And and I feel that the origin of the pandemic is obviously in China, and it stems from the fact that we are treating the wild animals in unwholesome way.
Yeah.
And I understand from the scientists that this will not be the last, because unless we change the way we deal with wildlife and how to things like this will continue to happen. And well, we're just our self-centeredness or our greed is going to capturing and animals and that we really don't need to. So we have to live, as we often say, in greater harmony with nature, with less egocentricity.
Yeah.
So, by
Thank
the way, Reverend Earl, good to see you.
To see you. Yeah.
Yes, I first met you, 30, 40
Yeah.
50
Yeah.
years
Yeah.
ago.
We were both younger then.
Yeah, in Berkeley, and you came down for a conference, and I think I was still a student then.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. You gave us a couple talks, and I knew your father as well.
not my father. Who? Because no,
I got you mixed up, I guess.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. There is no. My father was not in the ministry or anything like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
But I met you at IBS, and
yes,
you taught several classes there, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, and I got you to sign one of your books. So.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great. And,
yeah.
Okay.
Nice to see you.
Yes. Nice to see you too. Yeah. All right. Actually, my book here, I don't really have to talk about this so much, and I sent to Susan Huntley the website. I know that you can get this free of charge if your temple or organization, great, and orders it from BDK in Canada. So please, if you don't have the information, write to Susan, and if she doesn't have it, I'll tell her the BDK in Canada. And actually, I'll tell you, you're the first to know, I'm actually working with someone to do one for Canada. So Introduction to Canadian Buddhism. And much of it will be the same, but some sections will be for the Canadian experience. So hopefully that materializes. So okay, yes, yeah. The last time I was in North America, I was actually in Vancouver, at a conference, and that's the last place I left. And so that was first part of October last year. And after the conference in British Columbia, and I forget, Kamloops, yeah. And then the year before, I went to the same area. The name escapes me, but anyway, so yeah, I enjoy visiting Canada, and yeah, we have a lot of Canadians living in teaching at the American school in Japan, which is right next door, nearby, where our kids went to school. Two of our three kids, and we have met many Americans as well as Canadians. Okay, so anybody else? All the people, three of them, except for Dan, were people who are more or less either ordained or who is a sponsor. So maybe we can get one more quote unquote ordinary participants. Anybody? Well, I guess, all right, then I guess everything I said made perfect sense. Okay, so let me talk about my book here, which the 4 marks of existence is talked about. And I'm so happy that I was able to finally finish this after, I would say, 15 years, working here and there. Actually, I was asked to write this 20 years ago by the Boy Scouts committee, but I was working full time and couldn't get to it. But finally, after I retired 2 years ago, that I was able to focus on it and really, kind of punch it through. And anyone who writes know that writing is hard. It takes a lot of concentration, even if it's for ordinary, for young people. And because you want to make sure that you write it in a way that people can understand. So anyway, I began by talking about my consternation as growing up as a Buddhist in America in the early 1960s, late 1950s. Actually, I was, as some of you may know, I was born in Japan, moved to America at the age of 10. My mother was an American citizen born in Hawaii. Actually, my great-grandfather emigrated, over 100 years ago. So my grandson, actually, he's sixth generation in America, and but anyway. So when I moved to America, I started to go to a Christian church because there was a Japanese American Christian pastor living nearby and said, in America, everyone should go to church. And so my parents, who are basically, ordinary, typical Japanese, they're kind of Buddhist, and they said, oh, okay, religion is good. So I went to Christian church for a year and a half, and they were so nice. They were of the Seventh-day Adventist denomination, and very strict and very, orthodox and rather conservative. But I had a hard time dealing with God because I was around 12, I guess, and my question was, if God is so omniscient and omnipotent and all-knowing, why did he create such a mess? Why is the world created this way? My parents were not getting along well, and we had Second World War with a lot of people, 50 million people being killed, and problems in the world. Why does he create a world with all this mess? And then with that kind of a question festering in myself, then at the age of 13, I moved to another part of town, and then next door lived a Japanese American lady who went to the Buddhist church, and she suggested we go to the church. And by then, I was not very keen on going to the Christian church. So when I went to the temple, it made sense. Life is impermanent, life is interdependent. So that's when I found my stride, a religion that made more sense. And in that context, I became a Buddhist. But in the US, every day in the morning at school, you pledge allegiance to the flag. And there's a past line that goes, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the US, and under God, one nation under God. And I remember having difficulty really saying under God, because we don't as Buddhists, we didn't have that kind of a God. So so I kind of know what it feels like to growing us up as a Buddhist, be a member of a minority religion, and so I feel that even though Buddhism is much more well known than in the past, I estimate that there are 3.5 million Buddhists in the US, and Canada is basically the same. 1% of your population is a Buddhist. and many more are not Buddhists, but they're, you know, they're sympathetic to Buddhism. We call them nightstand Buddhists. Nightstand. Do you know that term, nightstand? Yeah, it's pretty well known now, but it's called nightstand because many people who may not say they're Buddhists, but they know a lot about Buddhism, they read a lot, and so in the privacy of their bedroom, they read their Buddhist book at night, but they don't finish, so they put it on the nightstand. And then next morning they get up, they try to remember what they read and meditate. So it's that kind of a, Buddhist, they do Buddhist practice, they read Buddhism, but they don't necessarily say they're Buddhist. And those are the people who are attracted to Buddhism. They don't want to, be committed, tied to an institution. But they're probably more Buddhist than a lot of Buddhists in some sense. And so anyway, even though Buddhism is well known in Canada and US, but it is still hard for, especially for young people to say they're Buddhist. And so that's why I wrote this book, so that they can develop more conviction about their Buddhistness and also get information about Buddhism. You cannot be confident unless, you need two things. You have to have conviction, but also need to have knowledge. And so this provides the history of Buddhism, basic teachings. And then I have a section here on application in daily life. And so I'm gonna show you part of that. Oh, okay, this one. Oh, I'm doing it again. Oh, darn, let's see. Oh boy. This one. Oh no. I don't know why this. Okay, living with. Okay, here we go. Oh. Just a minute, please. Where is that? Okay, I'm.
Can I help, Sensei?
Yeah. Oh, maybe you can. There are two PowerPoints, and it's the other. This one says sharing Buddhism through humor. Do you have it? Can you? And I want to get that on there. Yeah, good. Thank you. Okay, so. Now, can I handle now? Can you hear me? Susan, you're muted.
Sorry, I was muted. Now, let's see. How do I give you control? Let's see.
Well, you can just maybe just run it if you can.
Okay.
Yeah. So why don't we just okay? So part of the book, there is a subtitle with a bit of humor, and this is one of the things that I really like about the book. But before I go on, let me just say the book has 3 parts. The first part has to do with the history, including the history of Buddhism in America, which is new, and also aspects of Buddhism in America. And this will probably, Canadian experience is very much very similar. So by reading that, you have a sense of how Buddhism is different from that in Asia, needless to say. And the second part is the teachings. And I talk about the 4 Noble Truths and always, using a bit of humor and application in daily life. The last section, the third section on everyday issues and problems, I have one section where I deal with 10 different issues, problems of especially of young people, like including breaking up and feeling inferior and losing a loved one, very simple in a direct way. And then the last chapter of section 3 or part 3 has to do with humor, and I collected all the humor that you find throughout the book. And so maybe you can you, yeah. So go to next please. Next please. Okay, this one is a classic. Why couldn't the Buddha vacuum clean under the sofa? I don't know. Why? Well, it's because he had no attachments. Okay, can you go to the next one? There's an illustration. There it is. It's in the book, and I had a guy named John Murakami from Hawaii who didn't know much about Buddhism, and I explained the joke, and he, as an artist, he put it all together. I hope I don't have to explain here. Attachments, has 2 meanings, right?
Yep.
Okay, let's go to the next one. So these are kind of the other attachment jokes. The disciple asks a Buddhist master, may I be permitted to send emails? Buddhist teacher, yes, only if you do not have attachments. So this, actually you can use the next one when you do this. So your email friends write you back and says, you said there will be an attachment to the last email you sent me, but I don't see it. And you said, oh, sorry about that. I was just trying to be a good Buddhist. No attachments. Okay, next. And this one, a Buddhist monk wanted a hot dog, so he went to a hot dog vendor stall. The vendor asked, what would you like, sir? Monk, make me one with everything. This one is a little harder, but one hot dog with everything on it, mustard and sauerkraut and all that, but also means make me one together with all things, the kind of the spiritual experience. Okay, so, and the second part is even better. After getting the hot dog and giving the vendor a $20 bill, the monk did not get his change. After even waiting for a minute or so, finally the monk asked, a bit flustered, he says, where is my change? And the vendor, pointing his finger at the monk, says, sir, the change must come from within you. So next one, this one, and I had John did pretty well, and here a vendor is telling the monk what he should know, and change, of course, is a transformation. In Jodo Shinshu, we call it Shinjin, realization or entrusting, and so in Jodo Shinshu, our awakening is called Shinjin awakening, which happens in this life, as you all know. Okay, so let's go. This one is actually from a classical canonical text in Buddhism, a two-headed bird. There are two heads. The back head was jealous of the front head because the front head got all the good fruit all the time. And he got so jealous that he wanted to hurt the front head, so it poisoned the front head. But what happened? It came back and hurt him because they share the same body. You see the message here. This is, it's okay. That the message is that, we are interconnected, and we think that we want to, hurt somebody, but it comes back and hurts you. Okay, so this one is, so a medical examiner got fired. He was very dedicated, devoted, but he got fired because every time he wrote on a death certificate the same thing, regardless of whether person died of heart attack or a stroke or whatever, that he always wrote the same cause of death. He wrote birth. This is he says, you died because you were born. And this is actually very profound. You have to know the Buddhist notion that we are in a samsara, a cycle of birth and death, and since if we become enlightened, we transcend cycle of death, birth and death. But because you're born into a life, even though it's human life is much better than other kinds of life, but you will still have to die. And you have to die because we're born. And but you see the humor in this, that he went a little too far and imposing too much his religious thought into his profession. Okay, let's do, okay. This one is, you probably heard this one. Buddha was asked about, how big is the universe and how large, when did the earth begin, etc. These philosophical questions. And so the Buddha, when he was asked these questions, he didn't answer. He kept a golden silence of Yakrita, didn't answer, not because he didn't have opinions and views, but he felt that these questions about how big is the world and when did it begin and what happens to an enlightened person, these are really inconsequential to what we have to do as Buddhists, which is, and then he tells the story, parable of a poisoned arrow. A man is shot by an arrow, and as they try to, his friends and the doctor, they try to pull it out. He says, oh, wait a minute, don't pull it out yet. Before you do that, I want to know who shot me. What is the bamboo made out of? What is the arrow made out of? He's asking all these questions all the while the arrow is stuck in his chest. So the Buddha says, these questions are inconsequential. In fact, it's detrimental. We have to pull the arrow out. And so it's instructive in one sense, a number of reasons. One is that we have to recognize that we too, I am shot by an arrow. That I, and unless you feel that urgency it probably would be more difficult to really appreciate what Buddhism is talking about. Okay, so let's see. And oh, this one is good too. And after this, I will take a break. Here is this comes from early Buddhism as well. Guy is hanging on a cliff. He thinks it's 100 meters high. And, you know, if you fall 100 meters, you know, it's sure death. And he's clinging on to dear life. And then he finally sees a Buddha and says, "Oh, Buddha, save me, please save me." And the Buddha says, "I will. Let go." Well, see, we think that he thinks he's 100 meters high, but the Buddha knows better that he's only 1 meter above the ground, you know? And this is instructive because sometimes we react as if we are 100 meters above the cliff. And in a way, we can apply this to the pandemic. And of course, you know, for some people, it's, you know, 100 meters high, but for most of us, life hasn't changed too dramatically. So it's, in a way, the Buddha is saying, you know, it's not easy. It's not easy time, but, you know, if you think about it, you have enough food to eat, you have a house, and hopefully you have a job, and you know, so you're only 1 meter above the ground. So let go of the clinging to all of this. Okay, so I like the last one, and think about it. Keep that in mind, that image. You know, when you are flustered by something, and when you really think about it, hey, I'm not 100 meters high. I'm only 1 meter above the ground, and it's no big deal. You know, does it really matter? You know, that kind of thing. Okay, so in the rest, you know, I don't need to go through the book, but I think that you know, I've already shared with you some aspects from the book that can help you, and maybe the last one is probably can be very helpful. Sure, things are not easy, but it's not that bad, and you're only 1 meter above the ground, and just let go and open yourself to the other things that you can benefit from, like the silver lining that I talked about. And I'm sure that you all have your share of your silver linings. Okay, so let's have discussion or questions or thoughts. We have another less than 10 minutes, so.
Jackie, did you have a question you wanted to ask?
I was really interested.
Yeah.
I was really interested in the Scouting and Guiding Awards because, as I sent to Susan, I guess, my father was a Boy Scout leader for many years, and I grew up in Southern Alberta in a very Latter-day Saints Mormon community. So his troop consisted of kids from the Buddhist Church and the United Church and the Catholic Church. And so he was a scout leader for a very long time, as well as the young Buddhist leader, taking them on camping and everything. And then in the late 60s, my mother, and I think Susan's mother too, started a guiding troop. I was only there for a couple of years before I left. Was it still going, Susan, when you were old enough?
Yes, it was still going.
That's good. I'm much, much older than Susan. So that's why I was really interested that there were Buddhist Scouting and Guiding Awards. And I wondered, you've sort of described them, but what kinds of requirements are there to earn these awards?
Yeah, you know, in the back of the book, and there's a whole whole curriculum, I never want, and by the way, I was a Boy Scout too. That's another reason why I felt compelled to do this. But actually, I have the different kinds of medals and awards of the various scouts, and it requires doing certain things, and so I don't. It depends on which of the medals you're talking about, but you can get that information from online actually, and the scouting committee of the Boy Scouts in the U.S. Is centered more in BCA, the Buddhist Church of America, because it's the oldest institution and it's been at it for such a long time. So now you have scouts of all different denominations. So I think that hopefully they can use this as a resource. But there are obviously other books, and yeah. So you can look up on the website, and I can give you, if you ever write to me through Susan, that I can put you in contact with the head of the scouting committee. His name is Bumpy Tanaka, and he's in Sacramento.
Well, I just thought it was really interesting because both of our mothers were Sunday school teachers, so I'm sure, I know the guides and brownies got sort of a Buddhist background, but my dad too, I'm sure there must have been some because they came from Buddhist background. But I just thought it was really interesting that there were so many scouts now and guides of Buddhist background, that there are even special awards. I thought that's pretty nice.
No, I was told that there was no Boy Scouts in Canada, but you do have Scouts, Girl Scouts.
Yeah, boys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, going way back, because I'm almost as old. Well, I just turned 71, so it goes way back.
So, affiliated with a Buddhist church?
No, was not at that time.
Uh-huh.
So my dad took all of the young boys who were interested in scouting in that little town, who were not of the Latter-day Saints faith, the Mormon faith, and collected them all together. And he took a troop from Alberta actually to the World's Fair in Montreal in 1967, and they had a really good time. But yeah, there's scouting in Canada. It's not, but yeah. So unfortunately not Buddhist, but that's what was so interesting to me, that there's like Buddhist scouts in America.
Yeah, it has quite a number of troops that are affiliated. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So.
Thank you. That was interesting.
Yeah. Well, this book is not. I couldn't do. I mean, the content is applicable to any young person or any people who are young at heart, but because the scouting requires that you understand something about the history and the teachings, that's the aim. And I try to also talk about everyday concerns and issues. I have a section, chapter 9, 10, which has just simple Q&As, question and answers about, questions that are often asked of Buddhists. For example, do you pray? What does Buddha mean? What does karma mean? And things like that.
It was a really good refresher for both of us. So thank you very much for your book.
Okay, good. So, yeah. Are you, anybody else? I was going to ask Jackie and Rob, have your lives changed? So you're in a vulnerable age bracket like me. So are you more, reserved and?
Yes, especially in the summer, it was nice because we could have dinners with our family and really close friends who we know the bubble is small outside on our patio. But now that now that you have to be inside, yes, the circle has gotten very small, and we're wondering what to do for Christmas Eve, because good Buddhists, we like to share Christmas. And we usually have about 25 family members, but this year, I don't know what we will do, because with all the grandchildren and their spouses, the circle widens too much. So I don't know. Yes, in that way it's changed a lot.
Well, I think that, you know, many people are eager to, you know, celebrate the holidays together. But I think, you know, we should exercise caution. We can persevere for, you know, one season. And by next year, things should be back. And so, you know, it's again, so you don't get together personally, you know, person to person for one time. It's like that guy hanging on the cliff, you know, it's not, it's not, you know, 100 meters you're falling, you know, you're just, you know, just 1 meter below. And
well, we're really lucky in the days of Zoom and FaceTime, because I was just thinking, when our children were little, our parents didn't get to see, they only got to see them once a year for a week, because we lived across the country from them. But so yes, there are good things about in this pandemic, at least. But
I couldn't, you know, actually I lost my mother of 90, almost 98 this May, and I couldn't go back. And so we had a memorial service online, and so also our grandson, we see him once a week, which is really nice. And but you know, the benefits of the Zoom, the online communication is so tremendous in that. Actually, one time a couple months ago, I had a video talk sponsored by Hawaii, and I have people from Brazil, Canada, US, Japan. And then recently I was asked to give a series of talks for a group in India. Did you know that in India there are 40 to 50 million Buddhists? I estimated maybe 10 million. And as you know, Buddhism disappeared in India about 100,000 years ago. But after the war, 1956, members of the untouchable class, the outcasts, they call it Dalits or Harijans. And Dr. Ambedkar, who was a member of the Dalit class, decided that he had enough of Hinduism with all the discrimination, that he sought a new religion, and he felt that Buddhism is it because it's a religion of equality. And so Dr. Ambedkar, who actually was played a big role in the writing of the Constitution for India's independence, but he was still discriminated against because he came from the untouchable class, the Dalit class. So he decided to become Buddhist, and thousands and tens of thousands joined with him. But now there are many more who are Buddhists. And I was astounded that, you know, well, this group may be exaggerating a little bit, but 40, 50 million. And it could be because, you know, there are 200 million Dalits, you know, who are of untouchable class. And they are still, you know, recognized and discriminated against in some ways. But they want to turn to Buddhism. And it's interesting that they even see their ancestors going all the way back to King Ashoka, you know, the 3rd century BC Buddhist king. And so anyway, this group wanted me to get, and so I just went on talking about this group because I think it's an information that I didn't have, and to know that there are that many Buddhists is quite nice, and they need help because, you know, they're kind of short of, you know, resources. So So I was happy to do a series of talks for them. And this is another silver lining in the pandemic. And so you have, they had thousands of people on the streaming that was being done. So, okay. And
yeah, I did notice you, Dr. Tanaka, on Zoom doing doing a presentation to a group from India, and I thought, wow, on this book too. And I was like, that's really great.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, something that we never would have thought of, you know, a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and this actually they were saying that it was the third of the talk was on October the 25th, and they said actually if it weren't for pandemic, they would be having a celebration, annual celebration where they come together once a year. And I said, how many people show up? They said, oh, about 1 million. About 1 million Buddhists come together in Nagpur, which is in central part of India. I think that's where the Dr. Ambedkar started. And yeah, there are a lot of things about the Buddhist world that we don't know. And yeah, so we have a few minutes. Well, I think we started a little late, but I think we're at the come to an end. So I turn it back to Sensei Robert.
Thank you very much, Reverend Dr. Tanaka. It's a wonderful presentation you gave for us today. I'd just like to say something about the book. I really appreciate you putting that together for everyone and sharing it with us. And I think part of one of the highlights for myself is the comments that you give in the sections, giving your viewpoint to bring a different awareness to us. And over the years, you've always been a great influence in the way that you present Buddhism and allow us to see it in our daily lives is very much appreciated. So thank you very much for that. And Reverend Dr. Tanaka, on behalf of everyone here today, thank you for taking the time to speak to us on the importance of living with the pandemic from a Buddhist perspective. I really appreciated the way that you explained our daily situation with the illustration of the horizontal and vertical axis. It made it easier to see what we struggle with each day and how we can anchor ourselves with the Dharma to deal with the bumpy road that we experience. And also thank you for taking the time to highlight sharing Buddhism through humor in your book, Jewels. It is one of my favorite sections, partly because I have a hard time remembering jokes, so I'm really like that I have it all in one section now. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, and we wish you well, and please take good care of yourselves, and we look forward to hopefully seeing you again when the conditions are right. So thank you very much.
Yes. Well, yeah, as I said, the last time I was on in North America was, October of last year, and it was in Vancouver, and I enjoy going to Canada, and hopefully when this is over that I can visit Canada again, and maybe this time go to Calgary.
We'd love that.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that's it for now, and please take care of yourselves. And
You too. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you so much, and Namandabs.
Namandabas. 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 Thank you, everyone, and take good care.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you. Happy birthday, Sensei.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Susan, for putting this all together for us.
You're welcome. Take care, all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.